Broads Media.
Another win for the 76ers. Beautiful. I know it wasn't the most beautiful thing in the world, but the result, a victory, is beautiful. Let's talk about it before we hop into all the action. If you are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it. It helps me out so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You are all the best. Real quickly, if you're looking to buy tickets to go to any Sixers game, any event out there, you can use promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off of your purchase. So all those fees you get hit with in the beginning, I got you. I'll pay for you. It's not $70, it's $50. $20 off. SeatGeek promo code BROADS. Get yourself to a game today. Lastly, Broads Media on TikTok. Follow me there. We're having a lot of fun. With that being said, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Another 76ers win, and I know what you're thinking. Why did it take what it took to win the game? Why were we waiting until the very end to see if they would hang on to the victory instead of just punching this team in the damn gut because they blow? And oh, by the way, they're missing De'Aaron Fox. And I don't have the answer to you other than this is how the NBA works. And unfortunately, you don't just annihilate every team that walks into your building, even though that you should. I had a very similar feeling just a couple nights ago. I forget exactly what team it was against, and honestly, if I wasn't so damn lazy and I just popped up the Sixers schedule, I would figure it out within seconds, but I'm not going to do that. But they started out super slow, but I just figured, okay, let the game breathe. Over 48 minutes, just wait, they will be just fine. Give the game time for it to really find its own identity, right? That's something I talk about all the time. Each game is so different. Each game is so unique. Nothing's going to be exactly the way that it was the night before unless it's Joel Embiid dropping buckets on your ass and honestly making you go to work nonstop and forcing you to maximize all your energy and tiring you out because that's what Joel Embiid, MVP Joel Embiid, does on a night-to-night basis. So other than that, right, each game sort of has its own form of life. And within this action, okay, Harrison Barnes early, that won't stay true. The Sixers and Joel shooting 1 of 5 from the field, just a couple of points early on. There's no way that that would be real. There's no way in hell that that would be what would happen over the duration of time. And then, here we go. The second half. And the amount of the amount of facial, not features, but the amount of I don't know, the emotions that were pouring out of Joel Embiid's face was absurd. One of those honestly reminded me, rest in peace, one of the best to ever damn do it, Kobe, after he made that play underneath the basket and he put it up with ease and went to the foul line and he was walking back towards the three-point line to get some high fives from his teammates and he did a bit of some of his teeth grinding together and it looked like one of those, like, oh, he was fired up and grinding his teeth. Remind me a bit of Kobe when he was getting into his modes where it was, get the hell out of the way because this individual is going to crucify my body and tear apart me to pieces. I got to step the hell off to the side. And that's the way that it looked. And then, of course, when Seth Curry makes that nice dish to Tobias Harris and then Joel Embiid's not even a part of the play, just hanging out, and he's throwing fist bumps with maximum effort, may I add, right? These aren't just nice little how do you do's and a couple nice little fist bumps to yourself where you say, all right, let's go, right? One of those, like, let's go. No. This is full body twerking involved. He's leaning over and he's almost parallel to the floor because he's bent over that much just throwing his. I'm concerned that he might tear a shoulder or something. But you know what? In reality, all jokes aside, that is something that means so damn much to this team that just won 14 of their last 17. That is correct. They are 14-3 in their last 17. And there is something to be said about Joel Embiid. He made this very clear in a post-game press conference a few nights ago about pacing himself and learning what this league is all about. And there probably is a correlation with some of what we saw early on. And then, okay, let me put my foot on the gas. Let me explode. Let me do what I need to do to take control of this bad boy, get into the free throw line, whether it's a block on the defensive end or a huge three-pointer made. You know, it was just one of those nights. But he definitely did live a bit at the free throw line, and that's totally fine. That's what Joel Embiid does. There was actually some dope and some moron. There's more than just one or two, by the way. There's 6,000 of them, and I interacted with one that I'll get to in just one moment. But before that, did you see what went viral over Twitter this weekend? That someone said the only reason why Joel Embiid is as good as he is and is scoring points at the rate that he is because he gets fouled. What? What are you talking about? Yeah, he's so lethal. He's so big. He's so hard to keep in front of you defensively, and he can beat you in so many different ways, and he's so damn versatile that other teams don't know what to do, and because he's so damn aggressive, he forces the other team, because he's a center, to foul him and put him at the line. That's not something that you take points off. You don't dock points off for that. You give more credit. This guy's an unbelievable weapon. He's a force. No one can do anything about it. This isn't some just, oh, he's getting phantom calls all the time and he doesn't earn those. No, he earns it because no one is 7 foot and can defend everything that he does. So can we please have brain cells when communicating about sports? And that rolls right into the next combo that I'm about to throw your way. When it was about half of the second quarter to go, I put a Twitter poll up there and I let it sit for about an hour and a half so it didn't go too far where people already saw the results, because that would clearly make the results flawed. And I asked, do you think the 76ers are going to figure this thing out and win? 64% said yes, which shows me that more people than I thought have confidence that, like I was saying, over 48 minutes it would kind of work its way out, and they figured out. Although there were some ugly spots where defensively their guards cannot defend whatsoever. Doc Rivers going to the all-bench lineup was a massive mistake, and that's self-inflicted wounds. That didn't need to happen. You have to stagger your guys more. I'm done with Furkan Korkmaz being the experienced point guard, and I'm not telling you that I absolutely am in love with Seth Curry having the rock in his hands, and especially because it's not as if, he's been in full rhythm and in full momentum swing, but I'll tell you what I don't like, Furkan Korkmaz ever. So even if it's not the greatest option in the world, it's better than that option, and the fact that he's not staggering his lineups, it really did hurt you, and there was a time where you're down double digits. It looked really ugly, and that was the time where I threw this out there. I was kind of shocked by the response, but it also tells me that there's a belief in this team, not one to go too far to an extreme in terms of going to win a title, that type of support and that type of, oh, no doubt about it, because clearly that is not the case whatsoever. But there's something to be said about this team in the second half, this team kind of figuring it out and saying, hey, it's time. It's necessary now to go into it. And you would think that it would be a little bit easier on you and less toxic on the body and on the mind if they just did that right out of the chute. But, it's just not how this works. They are human beings, and sometimes it's not their night early on where they can't figure it out. Joel can't get his shots to fall. Tobias held you in there for a bit, and he had a fish at night, 7 to 12 from the field. I heard a set of boos because it was towards the end of the game, and he threw up a little floater there as he got to the free throw line, and it came up short. And I heard boos towards Tobias. Now, that's where we crossed the line. I will say, because Tobias, I read the numbers last episode. He's been on a nice stretch of basketball, and just because he has one shot that you might not necessarily like, it doesn't throw away all of it. And to be fair, just because he had a nice stretch, it doesn't mean that you throw away all the nonsense and all the garbage that he put on display previously. No doubt about it. I'll keep it 100, and that's very fair. But let's acknowledge that Tobias Harris has been a good basketball player as of late, and let's just continue for that to happen. He had a good game today. It was so unnecessary to kind of throw boos in that direction for sure. But anyway, the person who commented on that Twitter poll in the beginning stages of the game and in that second half, or excuse me, in that second quarter, said, tell me again why Tyrese Haliburton and Harrison Barnes isn't good enough. They're the best players on the floor tonight. Well, just to be fair, as you let time play out, your guy Harrison Barnes, which for some reason people have way too much love and way too much support towards him, he shot 5 of 16 from the field, and I don't know why Halliburton balled, right? I don't know why he passed up that last shot. The Niang shot, or the shot over at Niang, was insane, and that was such an unbelievable effort. I can't believe he drilled it. But when he had that opportunity to maybe go to the rack, he kicked it out for 3, and it was a straight brick. There's no reason for the hottest player on your team who had 38 points and one of your best games of his entire career, there's no reason whatsoever why you should pass that up. But I bring that up to you because obviously I know what direction this is headed in. All right, Daryl Morey, Tyreese Halliburton, that's an obvious deal, and the reports have been mentioned by Woj that the Kings have pulled out on the trade possibility and this and that. Once again, I'll lay it out to you for the 6,000th time. You're going to hear almost threw an F-bomb in there. 7,000 different reports from now until the trade deadline. All right, so just know your head's going to keep spinning all over the place, all over the place, all over the place. But here's reality with Tyreese Halliburton. My man averages 13.8 points per game. This was an awesome night. This shows you that he has a skill set when he turns it on, and he's a young player. So just like any young player, it's going to take time to learn how to grow in this league. How can you be that more consistently? What can you do to destroy teams and make buckets when you need to, late in the action, fourth quarter, if your team's struggling as a whole? How can Tyreese Halliburton become more of a consistent player? Just like Joel, there were nights early in his career where he'd give you 30, but then that would also be sandwiched between a 16-point night, an 8-point night, and then a 29-point night. Now it's 30 plus every single damn night, right? Because over time you learn how to do that. No doubt about it. But that's kind of a flawed thought long term, because the reason why you're trying to make a deal right now for a stud player is because you have to maximize Joel Embiid's shortened stretch here, because everyone's so afraid of Joel and how long he'll be able to do this. You can't waste any time. So you don't have time to wait for Tyreese Halliburton to get to that point, to get to that level. That doesn't make much sense to me. That's a growing process. He's a nice player, and I'm not saying he can't help the 76ers. My point of bringing up how many points per game he has is this is not Tyrese Halliburton every night. His last effort, he went he went 37 minutes, 11 points. This was his last game. 37 minutes, 11 points. 27 minutes, 7 points, shooting 2 for 9 before that outing. And then 2 games before that, 31 minutes, 9 points, 3 of 9 for shooting. So in his last recent little how do you do here, you're talking about 9 points, 7 points, 11 points, and 30 plus minutes of action or so. Right? This isn't Tyrese Halliburton every single night. He averages less than 14 points per game. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's some bum and he's a nobody, but I don't want this one effort to now change exactly who Tyrese Halliburton is right now in his career, to be fair. So, because I know exactly where this is going to go. He was the hot item. He was the one that everybody wanted. Well, how about Buddy Hield? Just to be fair here, right? Everyone's like, oh, Buddy Hield, this guy's sensational. No, he's not. If you watch Buddy Hield play every single damn night, you would see this and you would scream that he stinks and you'd say that he's pathetic. I mean, trust me, I've seen it a billion times with Buddy Hield. If Buddy Hield was that great and that awesome and that phenomenal of a three-point shooter, like the Sacramento Kings wouldn't be in the position that they are in if these players are the caliber of players that you think that they are when you talk about the Sacramento Kings, to be fair. But I get it. You're not playing with Joel Embiid. That opens up a whole nother discussion. You don't need them to be the same level of players, yada, 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 yada. I've heard it for weeks now and weeks now. All right? Here's the situation. Daryl Morey is trying to maximize what he can get for Ben Simmons. And I like that. Unless Stephen A. Smith has a point, and I don't know if you heard, and I kind of want to expand on this more in the week, so I'm just going to somewhat tease maybe a future conversation that we will have together. But there was a rant about Joel Embiid and what the Sixers organization is doing by Stephen A. Smith, and he said something along the lines of the front office Joshua Harris, them dictating the direction of this, which really opens up an interesting way of viewing where we are right now. Not to say that it's true, not to say that it's false, but like I said, we'll kind of keep that in more of a vacuum for right now, and maybe we'll open up that vacuum bag as we move forward with the week. Talking about some other things here, I don't want to step over the fact of what I was talking about before with Joel Embiid and the way that he is that emotional personality on this team and how excited he is for when other players do something well. When the team scores, he's hyped. There is so much to be said about the team really just feeding off of everything the big man is doing, and it warms my heart. It's just that simple. When you see the replay as NBC Sports Philadelphia is going to break, and they're re-showing you Joel at the top, he's not even a part of the play. The ball gets passed from Seth Curry to Toby underneath the basket, and you just see how much effort he's throwing into those fist pumps and how much intensity is involved. I know it sounds so dumb, because what am I talking about here? But it's a correlation with the 76ers this year, who they knew entering the season that it was going to be filled with toxicness. It would be filled with so much drama and obnoxious storylines forever and ever and ever. And then under Joel Embiid's wing, and I will admit that Doc Rivers plays a role into that, right? I don't like some of the decisions when you go to the bench, and I don't like when you utilize that whole bench lineup. And there's a lot of areas that I don't like when he screams at the media, because I think that he is realizing that there's a lot of talk about who he is now as a head coach, considering that there's been some failures of the recent past here. But there is something to be said about professionalism of Doc Rivers. Now, with some of the things that are disappointing about Doc Rivers, I don't know if it necessarily weighs out to my liking. I'm still significantly unsatisfied, or I'm not satisfied with Doc Rivers, but that does play a role when you're where you are right now and you look at the Eastern Conference standings, their record compared to some of these other records within the list of teams. Yeah, I mean, there is a level of Doc Rivers that is a part of that as well. You don't just rip him when it's bad and then never mention him when it's good. You win 14 of your last 17 games. You're in a position right now with $30 million just chilling off to the side. That doesn't mean I'm okay with everything he's done, and it doesn't mean that there are some areas of concern for a long-term combo that will limit them even with a more fulfilled out roster. And, because I've seen what he believes in and he's never willing to change that. But with that said, I'm still going to point out in the smaller combo of things that do help out this team in terms of what they're doing right now. So long-term, still worried about Doc, big picture, because I know he has enough of a track record, and I understand fully what he thinks, how he thinks, and what he's going to run when things get serious, and that's going to be problematic. But I don't want to overshadow what he's doing now, even though the bigger picture is more important. I'm just saying, there is validity to pointing out that there's been success with this wonkiness involved with the Sixers and him being a part of it. Let's see if anything got tweeted out throughout the press conference. Rich Hoffman of The Athletic: I love Philly, I really do, but the snow is crazy. Tyrese Maxey: yeah, I hope everybody was safe with the snow. I love the snow to death. I'm a huge fan of it. I lived in Vermont for a couple of years, and I always said this: I would go back in a heartbeat. My fiance said, hey, let's move to Vermont. I'd pick up my stuff right now and move to Vermont. That's how much I absolutely loved it. So this somewhat brought me back into my feels a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, see, people are talking about, I see so much, I can't believe Morey turned down Haliburton. I told you before, there's been so many reports saying that it was never even offered. That was never actually on the table. There's been discussion with the Kings, and there's things that the Kings would have that maybe would be in the mix in terms of a three-team trade and things of that nature. But you can't believe everything that's going around on Twitter, and you can't believe some sources and some reporters, and it's a mess out there for sure. It's absolutely a mess. So I guess that's really it. Just Tyrese Maxey mentioning what's happening with the snow. Sixers guard Tyrese Maxey on assistant coach Sam Cassell. He's vocal, very vocal. He's a 3-time champion in this league. When he talks, we listen. I just love Tyrese Maxey's energy and what he brings to the table, learning. We use this reference all the time, but he soaks everything up like a sponge because he's really willing to just continue to adapt. He had some tough moments defensively, no doubt about it. He did have some nice moments offensively, though. It seemed like he was moving towards the basket well with his floater game, and that helped out. Looking at some of the other players on the team, Matisse Thybulle, was he getting picked on by the referees today or what? There were a few times where I thought the refs had a quick whistle underneath the basket defensively. He did a fine job. Surprised Doc Rivers didn't use his challenge in some moments, but, that's also a part of the Doc Rivers experience as well. So, players definitely helped out in terms of Maxey, Tobias, I mentioned. And yeah, that's kind of what happened there. Matisse Thybulle got screwed a couple times. And that's kind of where I'm at there. Oh, the passing game. Early on, they brought the double team, and Joel Embiid realized nice and early within it and looked across the court, realized Danny Green was wide open for three, cash in a three. Danny Green's been nice since coming back, and maybe, just maybe, I don't know, it's not enough of a sample size yet, but maybe we're getting the Danny Green that can really help out this team off the bench, 15 minutes or so in that range-ish, and let's see if that can be a new spark plug where he can knock down a couple threes. Last game he did a few early on, that was massive, and in this game there was a combination of him and Niang had a three, and there was some explosion that occurred at the Wells Fargo Center. The building erupted and got loud. So let's not downplay Danny Green and what he's. I know he's a hate the face for a lot of people, and no one really gives him credit even when it's deserved, but I'm willing to. And I know last year he was such a major part of this. So here's to him getting way better with a different role this season. And yeah, just the fact that Joel Embiid can find that, though, that was never found in years past. Same with that pass when Tobias Harris is cutting underneath the basket. Joel Embiid's at the three-point line, and he hits him in stride. I tweeted out there a video of it because I was so enamored by it, and I threw out there that I thought Tom Brady retired today. That's what it looked like. It looked like a Tom Brady underneath pass right on the money into Edelman's hands, and then Edelman goes and scores for a touchdown. He led his receiver. He gave him time and space to just run right into it, and then underneath the basket, it's perfect. And his passing game, while there's hiccups and he'll have turnovers, this is special, some of these passes where, he's seeing the floor with this vision that I would have never thought he'd be able to see over the course of his career, and it's magnificent for sure. We're going to get to some Anytime Hotline calls in just 1 second. First, let me tell you about DeSimone Jewelers, okay? We've been talking about them for a long period of time for a reason, because they are amazing. I got my fiance's engagement ring from them. Valentine's Day is coming up, and I'm going right back, and you should too. Hell, maybe we'll even run into each other there. They're located in Haddonfield, New Jersey, previously in Jewelers Row. They're a family-owned business. Will, Lou, Nick, and Mike, they treat you like family the moment you walk into the door. Strip that last name right off your back because your last name is DeSimone. The second that door is open, they work with you to get the best design at the most reasonable price you will find in the entire market. True story. One of my buddies went elsewhere. I said, dude, what the hell are you doing? How much? No. Return that. Let's go. He returned it. He had to take a hit financially because they wouldn't give him back 100%, but the prices were so damn lethal at DeSimone Jewelers, it made so much sense for all the money that he saved for going there. That can be you without the first mistake. Don't make the mistake. Just go right there. They provide custom jewelry repairs, appraisals, watch settings, so much more. If you go in there and you tell them that Brode sent you, I'm sorry, did I say watch setting? Watch repairs. If you go in there and say that Brode sent you, they will hook you up like no other. DeSimoneJewelers.com. Check them out down below. All right, we have calls, we got texts. Let's do a little combination of both. We'll start here, though, with the phone call, the Anytime Hotline. Let's go.
What's up, bros? Glad we got the win by 2. I don't know whether it was because I put some money on the game that I was on the edge of my seat against the Sacramento Kings, or whether it was because I was watching Tyreese Haliburton go off for over 30 points while watching Joel do the same thing. Some good defense second half. Looking forward to seeing what happens. Looking forward to seeing your video. glad we got the win.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, Halliburton was a fun watch. It's funny that, right? You talk about you throw some cash down, you throw a little money here and there. It always seems like that dictates what's going to happen with your emotional ride when watching the journey for sure. See if you're going to cash out or not. No doubt about it. But in terms of, what was out there, it was a fun game. It was an entertaining game. Should it have just been a route where, someone brought this up in a previous episode on the Anytime Hotline, ironically enough. Joel Embiid deserves rest, and he should be sitting on the bench with his feet up, relaxing, instead of going down low, establishing post presence and utilizing all of his energy. Instead, he should be able to just gain some sort of old school fashioned rest in season, get the load management that way. I understand, don't get me wrong. I would love to just punch these teams in the teeth, kick it nice and early, and then say, forget about it. You're up by 35 in the third quarter, and then the Isaiah Joes of the world play 25 minutes and get all this run. Trust me, I want that. But even though this league is somewhat bad teams and the Kings aren't good and there's teams that, just get destroyed. For example, I saw someone, let's reference Twitter again, who said, I can't believe the Sixers are losing to a team that lost by 50 or who were down by 50 the other night. What do you mean? Just because that happened with the Kings this year, that's going to happen every single game? No, they have 18 wins, right? So they won 18 times. That's not how it works in this league. You know why? Because the regular season, and Joel Embiid is learning this, is all about pacing themselves. It's to get to the finish line. And I get it, right? It frustrates us because we just want to see them dominate every time. But there is a method to the madness that goes against sports culture, because in sports culture, we're taught when we're 4 years old that you leave everything out there on the court, right? And I'm not saying Joel Embiid doesn't, because even his 70% is better than some people's 190%, to be fair. That's how skilled he is, and that's how dominant he is. But there is something to be said about getting to the finish line in the NBA, and just some of these regular season games, you go through the motions, and it's like, well, that shouldn't happen. These guys are pro athletes who get paid X amount of dollars, and, they get paid to play a sport. I got you. It's all great and easy to say that, right? It's so simple to lay that out there, but this is how the history of this league has always been. So with that, it just happens this way, where a team that is so much worse than you battles you down to the wire, and then you got to find a way to grind it out. And it gets a little uncomfortable, but you got to pull the strings late and have a good defensive sequence that helps you secure the win. Speaking of defense, how about Tyrese Maxey getting a huge steal and then getting a big bucket on the end? Before that, Andre Drummond got a big steal that helped out the Sixers in transition. I get it. It's so frustrating to watch all those turnovers, all the sloppiness. You watch them score off those turnovers with ease. Your guards were getting torched. I'm with you, right? It wasn't fun, but it's just how this league works. Every team in the entire world goes through that, where you see a Kings and you think it'll be an easy one, and then it ends up being where you're down and you got to fight back. I don't want it to be this way, but I just get it. It's a 48-minute game. It's a game of runs. That's why everyone always says that. So the first run happened to be a lot for the Kings. The second run happened to be a lot for the Sixers. No matter what the talent is, it's a game of runs. And by the end of that game and the end of the frame, you'd imagine the team with the most talent had the better run by it all. And that's what happened tonight with the 76ers. All right, let's read a couple text messages here. Sean says, I wonder what Daryl Morey is thinking when he's sitting there in his suite watching Halliburton make some final buckets. We messed this up, bros. Just admit it. That sentence is in all caps. I love the all caps. It brings more fire to what the individual's trying to say. Another great night for Joel, though, in this win. It never gets old. That I can agree with, Sean. It never gets old watching Joel. It is must-watch television. And you know how everyone always said, was the process worth it if you don't win a championship, this and that? Yes. Why? Because we get this experience. You can't take away Joel Embiid. And I don't want to get too far down the path of hypotheticals. If they do, if they don't win, this and that. No. I'm just telling you that I find so much damn joy in my life. If I told you you'd have to sit through 3 bad seasons of bad basketball to gain this level of Joel Embiid, and you get to watch him play out for years and years, no doubt I almost threw up in my mouth because people actually think it's not worth it. That's what just happened there. This is a sensational watch, and you're right. It never, ever, ever gets old. In terms of admitting they messed this up, no. No, I will not admit that they messed this up because you don't know what the alternative is. If you land a James Harden, if you're able to get that and it's accessible in the offseason, you bring that in, it doesn't mean you missed out on it. And you're just assuming, right? You're assuming that because Ben Simmons isn't playing right now, trading for Barnes, Hield in this random hypothetical that's not even fully laid out there, and Halliburton, that they win a championship. That's not something that I can die on, that hill, that team wins a championship. And don't tell me that you're fooled by, I like Haliburton a lot. I like him. He's a nice player in this league. He's got a bright future. I don't look at him in the upper echelon, but he's a nice player in this league, for sure. And he's got ways to go, and I think he'll get there eventually. Don't be fooled by a 38-point performance, which is one of the best in his career, when the games before he put up 11 points in 37 minutes, 7 points in 27 minutes, 9 points in 31 minutes, because you wouldn't be having that reaction if that's the case. You just saw this one game. You have to realize that these players you trade for, watch them night to night, and you'll see. People who saw Furkan Korkmaz in the first month of the season and their opponent and they're a team on the other side, they're an opposing team, they'd think that Furkan Korkmaz is amazing. He's not. Let's go to Marcus. I want to give a shout out to Tyrese Maxey. I felt his impact tonight. Without some of those tougher buckets while he was pursuing the rim, I don't know if we win this game. Big time 3-2 for someone who we are watching to improve in that area. No doubt about it. You're absolutely 1,000% right. That's something that every single game I like to watch that individually from Tyrese Maxey's perspective. 3-point shooting, how much better is he? How much more comfortable is he? And it's night and day compared to where he once was. How many times did we talk about at one stage of this year where everyone seemed to hesitate, pump fake, kick around, all these open shots, unwilling to shoot? He's no longer unwilling to shoot whatsoever. Tough times defensively, no doubt, but that's inevitable, and that's a part of the Tyrese Maxey performance. I think it's fair to say that he had some impactful role-playing, nice, solid moments tonight for sure. And with that, we'll shut things down here. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.